Hey everyone, Ted Fletcher with FMS Integration. Hope you're all doing well. So I want to show you a feature that you can do with the RLE leak detection distance read controllers, the LD2100 or the LD5200. They both support a feature called Interactive Map. So Interactive Map is a feature where you can upload an image of your floor plan showing the leak detection routing. Whether it's a new image you created, you uploaded a copy of the frame reference map that you have at your facility next to your controller, whichever way you want to do it, you can actually upload that image and then you can set markers when the cable changes direction, and when a leak comes into place, you actually get a flashing marker on the map showing where that leak is occurring. So it's a slick little feature. This feature works with the LD2100 and the LD5200. So, but if you ever had older RLE controllers dating back to like the LD2500, the LD5000, the LD5100, anything that was a distance read system using that orange RLE or SeaHawk branded leak detection cable, you can actually replace those older controllers and put it on one of these newer style controllers to gain this functionality. It does require that you have an Ethernet drop going to the unit in order to utilize the web interface in order to access. If you're using one of the newer branded Vertiv leak detection controllers, the LP3000 or the LP6000, they also have the same functionality. The difference with that is, with a Liebert slash Vertiv system, that uses a yellow leak detection cable. So very important to know that, the yellow cable goes to the Liebert slash Vertiv systems, and the orange cable goes to the RLE based systems. So that being said, I'm going to open up the controller interface here in a moment. Let me go to here, and we will log into the interface. Oh, helps when the password is correct. All right, so we're into the interface. So what we'll end up seeing when we configure this is there'll be a link button here allowing us to access that map. We can also change if we want to have that map being displayed on here. When there is an alarm present based on that map, you actually get a flashing marker around in here to where we'll do an alarm at the very end. So I do highly recommend before you start going through this process to map your coordinates. Make sure that your controller was calibrated correctly, isn't currently in any sort of alarm state. That way you're working with a clean slate doing this configuration just to help you save time not having to go back in and then readjust some of your coordinate numbers. So you can see on my controller I have physical orange cable of 475 feet installed. I don't have any microcurrent coming back through onto the controller, so the system is nice and clean and normal, and everything is in a good state. So you will want to take either that frame reference map or a drawing that you do. Here I'm going to open up a drawing I made in Visio of my leak detection layout. Let me get it over to the right screen. And you can see I have just the layout of my 4 little data halls. And I show the routing of the cable between the chilled water supply and return lines. And then I just call out in this drawing the distance markers where there's a connector. So these were all 50-foot cables installed. So you can kind of see I am going around the outer perimeter where the primary leaks would occur. The way this cable was laid out, and then there was a 25-foot section at the very end here, bringing us up to a total of 475. So this is a JPEG image. I'll show you the image requirements once we get into the configuration of the controller. So you just need to have some sort of background image showing the routing of the cable, and then I'll go into the details of what key things you need when mapping this. So we're going to hit close. And I'll try to go through this as quick as I can. I'm going to go back to our controller interface. When you get into the LD2100 or the LD5200, you do have to log in as the admin. Having view only access won't get you into the configuration menu where you have to do these updates. So here on the header, I'm going to click on left click on configuration. Let's left click on that. And the best place to start is to upload the image file. So I'm going to come down to the second to last one, which is system/flash management. So left click on that. Brings us into the menu. Here we can see that there are no image files in place. If there was an image file in place and you have updated something that you want to upload, you would just click on delete image 1. Image 2 is just for another image that you can upload on the inside. The interactive map works off of image 1. So if you're going to use this feature, make sure that you're using image 1 for that floor plan that we want to utilize. Here in this menu, it'll show you the maximum size of the image is 1 megabits. And the maximum sizing as far as the pixels is 4,000 by 4,000. So you can't be greater than 4,000 by 4,000, and your image should not be any greater than 1 meg. So the more detail you have in your image, the higher the chance that you're going to have a larger file size. If you're ever curious on the file size, you can always go to that image that you've created. You can go to your properties. And then the first one under general will show you how big is this image. So you can see I'm getting close to the 1 meg mark, but I'm not over it. And then if you wanted to check your pixel count for your XY, you can come inside here and we can see that I am 1607 by 944. So well with under the 4,000 by 4,000. I'm just going to click on OK. Go back to our browser. Any configuration that you're doing, our RLE or now parameter, they do most of their testing based around Chrome or Edge. So if you are using another browser and you're seeing something not quite following through as this video is going to show, it could be that other browser. So it is recommended to use either Chrome or Edge in any configuration updates that you're doing in the system. All right. So that being said, we don't have any images in image 1. You can see if we go a little bit down, there's an image index, and this defaults as uploading a file to index 1 for image 1. If you wanted to, you could select 2, but for this purpose of using the interactive map, we need to be on 1. So I'm going to go to choose file. I'm going to find my image. I'm going to left click, highlight it, make sure it fills in there, click on open. Once we have that image selected, we're going to click on upload. This is where the system's going to make sure that you're with the right file type, which needs to be a JPEG, a GIF, or a PNG. And it's also going to check your size and requirements, make sure there's no other errors. Here we get a return message saying that the file has been uploaded and copied to Flash. All right. Now that that image has been uploaded, we can see that it's called out here. And what I recommend at this point, just to ensure that everything looks proper before you start diving into the configuration side anymore, go back to home. Now when we look at the home page, we see a little hyperlink button saying Floor Map 1. So if we left click on this, it'll open up a new window and then it'll load our floor map. So this looks good. Our image sized correctly. I don't see anything skewed. We don't have to do a bunch of scrolling. Looks pretty clear as far as what we have shown on the markers. And like I said, this is a very handy feature if you are utilizing one of these controllers. You're already utilizing the Ethernet function off from one of these controllers that you can go through. So now I'm going to click close. We're going to go back to configuration. So from here, we're going to go down about a third of the way to web/map settings. Left click on that link. So once we get inside here, top is basic admin. Once you get in the middle, so main page image, you have some options. You want to show that SeaHawk logo in the window by default. Do you want to show a picture of the LD2100, assuming that's what we are working with right now? Or do we want to show an image that's been uploaded to Floor Map 1 or Floor Map 2? So completely at your discretion, whichever way you want to do it. We'll select Floor Map 1 to show what we're working with. And then next is Floor Map number 1, link text. So this is just what the button represents. Instead of it saying Map 1, I could tell it, well, this is Denver 1 data hall leak detection. So get a proper name in there, just being a little bit more descriptive on the button, what someone's going to click on. And then are we utilizing the Floor Map number 1 interactive feature? We want to select yes. Once we have those fields updated, we're going to click on submit changes up here. Typically only takes a couple seconds. Then we could always go back and be like, okay, so there is our little picture of our floor map inside the window. Configuration, go back to floor map settings, or sorry, web map settings. So next we want to do, and I'm going to click on this second hyperlink down towards the bottom, says map alarm coordinates graphical. We're going to click on this. So anytime the cable, well, obviously starts and then changes direction, that's where we want to put that distance marker up into this window on the upper left-hand side. Once we have that defined, then we take the set of crosshairs, we target over that area of what that distance would be, and then you left click. So you don't have to map the cable every 10 feet, 25 feet, every time there's a connector. The best practice when doing this setup, every time the cable changes direction, as far as from that XY, just changing its routing, that is the distance marker you need to know. So we'll go through, we'll start at 0, and I'm just going to place 0 here for the demonstration. Otherwise, it'd be like 0, 2, we'll go to 30, I think that one I had marked down at like 37 feet approximately, coming off from there. Then we'll mark over here. So first one we need to start at the beginning. So we're just going to call this first one 0. So I'm going to mouse my crosshair over, I'm going to line it up, and I'm just going to left click once. So now that it took, you saw the quick flash of the screen, or at least hopefully you saw the quick flash of the screen. But then if we look at the very top of the page, it'll say current map coordinate count. So we just entered one, we have one in our count. So next one I'll do is I'll go and if we come off from the cable, next time we change direction is up in this quadrant here. So we'll put that distance marker in. But if you were having your cable and it was wrapping here and around the cross, back up, or anytime it's changing direction, you want to have those distance markers called out. This is where I highly recommend that you go out onto the floor, you pop your tiles, if it's a raised floor application or if it's an exposed area, clear the alarms out of the controller. That way you don't have any alarms being recorded. Take a notepad, the image or whatever reference you want to use, and every time the cable changes direction, put a leak on that point. Wait typically about 30 seconds, clear the leak, close it up, move to the next point, and just keep going through and marking. And then you can make a reference of, hey, I did my first mark at, reference 1, reference 2, 3, whatever it may be going through. Go back to the leak detection controller and then go through the alarm history because you'll see those alarm counts and you can be able to record that out if you don't have any mapping data already recorded for your system. So next one we're going to do, we're going to call this one out at 30. I'm just going to call that one 35. So I'm going to go 35. hover the crosshairs over, left click once. Then we got map count of 2. This one we'll call 203. And again, you don't have to do every time there's a connector point or anything linear. It's when the cable changes direction. All right, it took that one. Usually doesn't have to process that long. But so then if we come down through, I'm just going to look like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8. So about 268. So I'm going to put in 268. 222. Line our crosshairs up. Left click. There we go. Took that one. Now we can run this all the way down the end. That one, we will say that is about 446. 446. And the more time your cable changes direction, this process will take longer to try to go through. 446. This one we will call 470. Over about that mark there. All right. And then our last mark, we'll put it right on the EOL or end of line terminator. That's right there. Put 475. If you ever were to add cables to the system, extend it, then you'd have to go through and redo these mapping points. But I'll show you how you can do either some quick edits to things already existing in the system, or if you wanted to, in essence, blow everything out and start over with a clean slate as far as for your distance markers. All right. So now that that's been all uploaded, we're going to click on this return. So now if I wanted to go through and say you wanted to tweak some of the distances, if you click on this first link saying map alarm coordinates text, just left click on that. And then we can see, as far as based on the screen, the XY coordinate that marker was dropped onto, and then we have the distance. So if you wanted to retweak its alignment, you can change, and this is based on per pixel, you can change the X coordinate, the Y coordinate, and you can adjust what that distance marker is representing. So if you realize you were off by a few feet, you can go through and make all your changes here. Once you have all your changes made, you can click on submit changes and it'll update. And then it displays 20 points per page. You can see here calling out page 1 of 20. So you can do up to 20 pages worth of data for 20 data points per page. And then you've had a specific page you wanted to go to, they give you a little drop down to let you navigate through. If you had something configured previously, but then you changed the routing of the cable and you have pretty much had to redo this from scratch, you don't have to completely flash or reset the controller, but you can come down here and click on delete all coordinates, and that'll get rid of any markers that were previously set up inside the system. So here we're going to go back. Let's click on my back arrow. And then if you want to view your markers, you just come to map alarm test, left click on that, loads the image, and then you can see it'll actually show you all of your distance markers that you programmed in. So RLE did a nice job setting up this feature back in the day. Feature's been available for a while, since really the LD2100 and the LD5200 was released onto the market. And again, if you had an older RLE controller, say you had an LD2500, that was one of their oldest controllers doing distance read, LD2000, LD5000, LD5100, a bunch of those older controllers minus the LD2000 were not Ethernet based, so they didn't have this capability. And then the LD2000 just did not have this feature built into it. But if you had one of those older platforms, you can replace that controller with one of these newer LD2100 or LD5200 controllers to be able to utilize this feature. And a lot more as far as for protocol integration and a lot better smarts, I guess, for lack of better words. You can also do a similar process with Vertiv's new leak detection controllers, the LP3000 and the LP6000. Similar process going through doing this configuration. So here, I'm going to close this test map window because we don't need to see anything else within this. And I'm going to go back to my home page. So here we're all set up. So if you be patient for one moment, I am going to generate a water leak. Put a little bit of water on our leak detection cable. All right. Fluid has been set. So here we can see the microcurrents raising. I have it set to the default as far as 50 microamps for a contamination, 150 for a water leak. System typically tops out at 300, 301 microamps on these style controllers. So here we can see that we're at 300. So now it's doing its default 20-second countdown. If working with these controllers, you're not aware, by default, a leak alarm by default is every 20 seconds, and then a contamination alarm takes 2 minutes as far as breaching over those thresholds. So here we can see that we have a leak detected at 451 feet, and then I'm using the virtual zone feature. I'll make a video going over onto the setup. The virtual zone is nice, giving you a description of where that leak is occurring. So here we can see it's in our data hall 4. We got our flashing marker around the image. So then if we click on our button, there's our marker. So that is a quick breakdown of the configuration of the LD2100. Like I said, the LD5200, very similar configuration going through on the process. Your biggest thing is just, have a decent drawing of your floor plan. Depending on who did the installation of your leak detection system, this is where you could take a copy image of your framed reference map that would be hanging on the wall, hopefully hanging on the wall close to your controller. You could take that image, upload it to the inside. Just make sure that it's either a JPEG, a PNG, a GIF, no greater than 1 meg for the file size, and the overall size cannot be any greater than 4000 by 4000 pixels. Upload that in, make sure that you have it mapped out every time the cable changes direction, and then you can go through this process and you can utilize this feature. So it makes it a little bit handier with your operations teams or people being deployed. Instead of them seeing a leak come through, then someone having to go to the controller, look at the frame map, and then figure out where that distance is from a quick glance. Someone would be able to come in, look at the system via the web browser, as long as you're using the Ethernet function, and be able to see, oh, I have a leak right off from crawl 11. Then they could go down there and start investigating. Helps alleviate a lot of time. So I hope this was handy. If you have any questions when it comes into replacing old controllers with this new tech, or if you wanted to go through and have any questions on how to configure this, please feel free to reach out to FMS Integration with any questions you may have. So I thank you for your time and hope that this was useful. So have a great day.